Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is something really special and personal to me. It's titled, The Day a Human Showed Me What It Truly Means to Be Strong. I'm 104 years old now, and while there are countless things I've forgotten over the years, there's one memory that has stayed with me, the day I first saw a human named Nova Alara. Join me as I take you through a journey of compassion, resilience, and the true essence of strength. Let's get started. I'm 104 now, and there are more things than not that I've forgotten in my life. I can't tell you the first time I traveled to another planet. I can't remember the name of my high school teacher, and I've even forgotten the name of my first friend in elementary school. But I do remember the first time I saw a human. Nova Alara was the most beautiful creature I had ever seen. Sure, she was small like any human. Yes, she had the unnecessarily long hair that most human females have. She even did the all-too predatory thing of showing her teeth often. Despite all this, Nova has been my closest companion since I was 9 years old. Why do we have to, Mom? Because they're going to the council now. Stop fussing, my mother told me sternly as we waited behind the large glass walls looking into the ship terminal. This is stupid. Why does she have to stay with us? I asked my mother, not realizing how selfish I was being at the time. Rules are rules, dear. She never went into much depth, even as she got older when the ship landed. I remember how hard I tried not to look. I even tried to move to another room, but the loud screams that came after the engine stopped kept my eyes glued to the platform. She was tiny. Her face was red and glistening with moisture oozing from her orifices. All I could think was how ugly humans are. What a shame they were allowed in the council. The little girl was making such a fuss that I didn't even notice that the hand she was holding was the hand of my father, Admiral Kyle, 3rd Admiral of the Council Collective Space Fleet. But after contact with the horrible-looking humans, he was reduced to nothing more than a babysitter. She's not staying in my room, I said, face pressed against the window. Ears pressed up against the cold surface, my mother just shushed me and led me to the entrance, where my father entered with his new, unfortunate luggage. My parents embraced, and my father even gave me a wooden toy of some kind that he had gotten on one of the human planets. I whispered my protests into his lowered ear, but he would have none of it. The day felt like the beginning of something terrible, especially when I had to listen to the disgusting squealing sounds coming from the tiny human clinging to my father's large gray hand. It wasn't until I stumbled down a flight of stairs a few minutes later, scuffing my feet in childish rage, that I realized it was just the opposite. Empathy, compassion, mercy, call it what you will. But humanity has it. Each race on the council is powerful, intelligent, clever, or resilient. But humans are just plain nice. The lumbering Draken are the least likely race to go head-to-head. The Zyre are known for their near-perfect soldiers. The ENS are the oldest and most intelligent of the races. You'd be hard-pressed to find Era who wouldn't cheat you out of your last few credits. Then there are the Theran, who can withstand temperatures from 278K to 295K. It was barely 10 cycles after the humans were admitted to the council that the status quo changed. You can call the council a lot of things, but completely cohesive isn't one of them. At least not for 20 cycles. Territory is a lot harder to keep track of in space than it was when we were all terrestrial races, especially when half your races are hunting and pecking individual planets out of systems, and the other half are taking over entire solar systems. Some will say the war was the Draw's fault. Others will say the Vara had to learn that people get angry when you keep pulling the wool over their eyes. Either way, the Vara had persuaded the council to give them a planet from a system already promised to the Dren. What started as a small border conflict quickly turned into a full-scale war between the Draken and the Vera races from across the galaxy took sides, and the Council searched for a way to end the war. The only thing the Council seemed to have accomplished was to accept the humans into the government and to perform the usual protocol of hosting 1,000 of the new Rake's children throughout the Alliance for the first few cycles. The war was hardly a dividing factor among the Council. Everyone felt it was unnecessary. Most races tried diplomatic talks with both sides, but no one would back down. It took 4 cycles before the Draken declared the war to be about the Vara, the race undermining the entire council, their goal. the extermination of every Vara man, woman, and child. When I was 9, I wanted to be everything my father was: strong, unyielding, commanding. But that day in the cold terminal, lying at the bottom of the stairs, I wanted nothing more than to be like Nova. She took no time at all to run down the stairs, which were almost twice the size she was used to. I lay on the floor, whimpering and holding on to the leg I had landed on, which was now bent at an all too unnatural angle. Her face was still slightly red from a few moments ago, but there was no moisture dripping from her face, and she was completely silent. If it weren't for the incredible pain in my leg, I would have moved far away from her, but there was no escape. "Oh no," she whispered to herself. "Though I had no idea why you're so hurt," she said, as if I didn't know. But her voice wasn't informative. No, it actually wavered, as if it was about to start making those horrible noises from before. "Get up," my father barked as he came up beside me. Coddling was looked down upon by every race on the council. You didn't get to be a sentient being by being weak. No, evolution took care of everything that was not needed. "I don't think he can walk," Nova said quietly, looking up at my father from her crouched position. "Then leave him." "Child," my father said, walking to catch up with the rest of the travelers from his flight. "You can't leave him," she said louder, not leaving her crouched position next to me. "You're his daddy. You have to help him." My father paused silently, waiting for the young girl to follow him. He didn't repeat himself. "I won't leave him," she said. And she didn't. She sat there for minutes, maybe an hour. My father stood in front of us on those stairs in full council regalia, staring into the defiant eyes of the little girl next to me. The pain subsided to a dull throbbing, but I wasn't about to try standing on that crooked appendage. "It's no wonder you humans are so small when you let every member of your race reproduce, even with their flaws," my father finally said, causing the girl's face to twist into what I assumed was predatory anger. Her nostrils flared, and her eyebrows arched in a way that made her look like a hunter's kitten. They stared, but my father relented. "Fine, but we need to have an important conversation if you're going to stay in my house." My father picked me up for the first time in my life. It wasn't until that moment that I knew it was a feeling I had always wanted. Nova once told me that human parents are actually very affectionate with their children. They can even carry them until they're 5 cycles old. Regardless, that was the day I truly saw what true strength, endurance, and command were from an 8-cycle-old human girl. That is, there were many voices for the first 4 cycles of the war, too many. But when the declaration of the drone's extermination was announced, the loudest were the humans. For 4 cycles, the humans refused to enter the war. They sent aid to both sides and cautiously took their first steps into the political scene of the council. They were the most gentle of the races, but their voices swayed musically, and they often spoke with passion. If emotion were ammunition, they'd be the most apex race. But none of the others got where they were by feeling strongly about an issue, so no one expected the humans to be the staunchest supporters of the war. When it was declared, hundreds of vids were made and sent to leading council members. They started privately but slowly trickled into the hands of the populace. They were old, black and white footage of humans, low-quality videos of humans in their first information age, even a few videos of a sect of humans before their final step into the interstellar stage. But these were not just any humans. These were, in their opinion, the most miserable humans that had ever existed. The humans were relentless. This couldn't be. They spoke elegantly. Fire-like passion spewed from their speeches, and many races supported them, and thus the Vara. I can't tell you what I believed when I first heard the human war speeches, but I can tell you what I felt: empowered. It came as no surprise to me that Nova was one of them. Nova had been in our home for 20 cycles, and in those 20 cycles I had learned many more things than we had taught her. When I was 11, I learned that they often kept other animals as pets, not livestock. Mind you, no. They took animals in not for food, not for wool, not even for security, but out of love. When I asked my father if we could have a pet, he told me I was being ridiculous and that there was no need. When I was 13, I found out that human planets typically range from 255K to 305K, but it's not uncommon for it to be hotter or colder. What all other races would call death temperatures, humans call cold and warm. When I was 16, Nova told me that there were rules on her Earth that made sure everyone had an equal chance. She said that even the sick and those born with defects are taken care of unconditionally. The poor get help. Freedoms are not privileges, they are rights. I was 16 when I first felt the shame of being born a torpid, when I was 19. The girl No, the woman saved me again. The Orion War, as the humans called it after a warrior in the sky, was at its height. We torpids had decided to join the Vara. We sent troops and tech to every front of the war because we had the resources, but that didn't stop the Dren from pushing through to our homeworld. Not when they had Xylar troops and Elden tech. We were fighting an unbeatable war against an enemy intent on conquest and extermination. Nova. My mother and I stayed in the bunker of our home with my father's personnel while he fought on a front near Vara's homeworld. We expected the Drens to make it here. We even thought there would be some damage from aerial combat. But we never predicted that the Drens would have the ability to make land. We fought for weeks, but they never gave an inch, only took miles. Our bunker was blown open, and it was then that I learned the unifying factor between all races' fear. Sure, we've all survived so far, but that's no guarantee it was the first time I'd ever felt like a Nova. Everyone ran. No one stayed to help anyone else, not even my mother. Well, no one except Nova Rubble that I could never imagine lifting trapped about 10 of my father's former companions. They were trapped and as good as dead if it wasn't for Nova by lifting what could have easily been 100 kilos. She not only saved their lives, but mine as well. My leg has never really healed since the day I met her. I limped around a lot, walked almost perfectly, but could never walk again. But that didn't affect little Nova. She ran over to me, crouched down in front of me, and lifted me onto her back that day. Nova proved to me once again why the humans were so different from us that week after the human troops landed and used their tactical genius to force the Z, our soldiers, to surrender. They proved to the torpids that caring for your brother creates stronger bonds a month and a half later with the development of their pure antimatter bombs, which made the Elden antimatter fission bombs obsolete. Humans proved to the Dreon Alliance that genius could be born of the will to help others less than a cycle later, when the Vara rushed from the last holding pen into the arms of the human forces. They proved to the entire universe why human compassion was not weakness. It was the Orion War that showed us all that there were still things to learn. It was then, after we had helped the Vara and resettled the survivors, that we began to understand the humans better on their too hot, too cold planet, with its too many predators that were far bigger, faster, and deadlier in every way. The humans' only asset for survival was not strength, endurance, stealth, or even intelligence. No, the humans' best defense and most powerful offense was compassion for one another. For as the humans say, united we stand, divided we fall. It was many years after the Orion War when Nova left my home. No, our home for Earth, that I felt truly human. Nova had said many words over the years, words that burned and words that soothed, but one always confused me until now. Love, so as she walked away, perhaps as a last resort or a final goodbye. I said, I love you. She turned back to me again with her mouth in a curve. And I have always loved you, she said, and stepped onto the ship back to her true home. Thank you all for watching and coming along on this heartfelt journey with me. Nova taught me that true strength lies not in power or intelligence, but in compassion and love. Her impact on my life and on the universe is something I will never forget. If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. And remember, united we stand, divided we fall. Until next time, take care and stay strong.